The shrug that was heard around the world came after his sixth three-pointer. Chicago Stadium was shaking. Over 18,000 fans on their feet, watching something impossible unfold. Michael Jordan turned to Magic Johnson at the broadcast table, palms up, shoulders raised, a gesture that said everything and nothing all at once. But the real story of 1992 started months earlier, when Jordan picked up a book with his name on the cover and hated every word of it. In 1991, Michael Jordan finally climbed the mountain, but the next year, the whispers started. Was it just one magical season? Could he really lead a dynasty? Or was the NBA about to figure him out? In 1992, Jordan gave his answer. Coming off their first ever championship, the Bulls didn't miss a beat. After a 1-2 start that had some critics already sharpening their knives, they rattled off 14 straight wins. Chicago's stadium became a fortress. Opposing teams could feel the championship confidence radiating from the walls. Then came another 13-game streak in January, the Bulls steamrolling through the league, hitting the All-Star break at 39-9. They finished the season with the league's best record at 67-15. Locking up the number 1 seed in the East and heading into their 8th straight postseason. For context, only 3 teams in NBA history had won more games in a regular season. The 72 Lakers, the 67 76ers, and the 73 Celtics. They looked like a dynasty in the making. Michael Jordan put together another dominant campaign, winning his 2nd straight MVP and 6th consecutive scoring title. But this time, he wasn't carrying the load alone. Scottie Pippen had transformed into a legitimate two-way superstar, earning all NBA second-team honors and joining MJ as a starter in the All-Star game. Horace Grant was becoming one of the league's best power forwards, averaging 14.2 points and 10 rebounds a game, while shooting an impressive 57.8% from the field. By this point, Jordan had finally shaken one of the biggest criticisms of his career: his inability to get past the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, led by Isaiah Thomas and coached by Chuck Daly. They had bullied and blocked the Bulls in 3 straight playoffs, from 88 to 90. Their infamous Jordan rules defense was designed to swarm, hit, and frustrate him at every turn. Every drive to the basket meant a forearm to the ribs, an elbow to the head, or a hard foul that sent him sprawling to the floor. Things changed when Phil Jackson took over in 1989, with Tex Winter beside him, preaching the triangle offense, and a young core maturing around Jordan. The Bulls finally broke through in 1991, sweeping Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals on their way to a title. The image of Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons walking off the court without shaking hands became a symbol of the passing of the torch. That marked the beginning of a partnership between Jackson, Jordan, and Pippen that would define an era and win 6 championships. But 1992 would test whether that partnership could withstand success, scrutiny, and a controversial tell-all book that threatened to tear apart Jordan's carefully crafted image. By the early 90s, Jordan's image was everywhere. Nike, Gatorade, McDonald's, Wheaties, Hanes underwear. David Falk, his agent, had turned MJ into more than a basketball player. He was a global brand worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He was marketed as flawless, clean-cut, family-friendly, and otherworldly on the court. As Playboy put it, he was the quintessential gentleman, consummate sportsman, clean-living family man, and modest, down-to-earth, levitating demigod. But Jordan himself never fully bought into the myth. He once admitted he had recurring dreams of making a mistake off the court and watching his public image crumble. It's like they've been waiting for it, and now it's here, he said. I told you so. And that moment did come, sort of, not on the court, but in print. The 91-92 season wasn't just a test of skill, it was a test of character. Because this time, the Jordan rules had nothing to do with the Detroit Pistons. In November 1991, just months after the Bulls won their first title, Chicago Tribune beat writer Sam Smith published a controversial tell-all book titled The Jordan Rules. The timing couldn't have been worse or better if you were trying to sell books. Here was Jordan, fresh off his first championship, finally validated as a winner. And suddenly this book arrives, painting him as a tyrant in high tops. The book chronicled the Bulls' 1990-91 championship season in meticulous detail, but also featured stories from coaches and teammates dating back to MJ's earlier years with the team. Smith had unprecedented access, and he used it to show readers a side of Jordan that Nike would never put in a commercial. The book didn't just paint Jordan as evil, but it pulled back the curtain to reveal a more raw, complicated version of him. Smith wrote, "He often backed away from the traditional leadership role, and he rarely spoke with his teammates, other than to taunt them with his rapier wit." Jordan was less team captain, more merciless competitor, long before it became trendy to romanticize athletes as ruthless winners. But some of MJ's antics seemed to cross the line. The stories were brutal. Jordan had berated teammates in practice, calling them losers and scrubs. He'd frozen out players he didn't respect, refusing to pass on the ball even in crucial moments. He'd badmouthed coaching decisions to reporters, trash-talked his own teammates during games, openly questioned general manager Jerry Krause's moves, and even skipped team events when he didn't feel like participating or was still ticked off by someone from a previous game. One story stood out among the rest. He called teammate Will Perdue Will Vanderbilt, saying he doesn't deserve to be named after a Big Ten school. The insult was classic Jordan, clever, cutting, and designed to humiliate. Then came the practice incident. Perdue, tired of being pushed around, finally set a hard screen on Jordan. MJ's response? He punched Perdue twice in the head, shouting, "Why the hell don't you ever set a pick like that in a game?" There were more. Brad Sellers, a forward drafted in 1986, was ridden so hard by Jordan that he essentially lost his confidence and flamed out of the league. Stacey King was mocked for his weight. Even Horace Grant, who would become a key contributor, was screamed at during the 1990 playoffs. "You're a loser. You've always been a loser." To Bulls fans, the Jordan rules suddenly had a second meaning. It wasn't just the Pistons' defensive scheme, it also referred to the special treatment Jordan got inside the organization. He flew separate from the team on MGM Grand Jets while they took commercial flights. He set his own practice schedule. He had Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause's ear whenever he wanted. Fame had privileges, and he used them all. But so what? He earned it. He could drop 30 points with the flu after golfing 18 holes, or pulling an all-nighter at the poker table with Slim Bowler and his crew. The book landed like a bomb in the Bulls' locker room. Horace Grant was suspected of being Smith's primary source, a charge he denied, but that created a rift with Jordan that would last years. The media had a field day. He was proof that Jordan wasn't the smiling pitchman from the commercials. He was human, flawed, driven, brutally honest, and yes, still the best player on the planet. In 91-92, Jordan was still adjusting to the triangle offense. Phil Jackson and Tex Winter's system was basketball poetry when it worked. Constant movement, reads, and counters, finding the open man, but it required Jordan to trust his teammates. He'd spent years carrying them on his back. The system demanded that the ball move away from Jordan, that he become a decoy, that he let role players take big shots. Jordan once called it an effort to de-Michaelize the offense, and he wasn't entirely wrong. The numbers reflected the change. He finished the regular season averaging 30.1 points per game, his lowest in 6 seasons. For most players, 30 points would be a career year. For Jordan, it felt like a concession. But it didn't matter. The Bulls were better around him and more dangerous than ever. Scottie Pippen was blossoming into one of the league's best all-round players, a 6'8" point forward who could guard anyone and run the offense when Jordan sat. B.J. Armstrong provided steady backup at point guard. Bill Cartwright, the veteran center Jordan had initially resented when he was traded for Charles Oakley, anchored the defense. The bench, Stacey King, Bobby Hansen, Cliff Levingston, Scott Williams, knew their roles. Not satisfied with the franchise record, 61 wins from the year before, the Bulls somehow got even better, finishing 67-15, tied for the 4th best regular season record in NBA history at the time. Michael Jordan was again unstoppable, winning his 3rd MVP and 6th straight scoring title. But this season, more than ever, he leaned into his team's growth, especially with Scottie Pippen averaging 21 points, 7.7 rebounds, and 7 assists, and Horace Grant putting up 14.2 points and 10 rebounds a night, while shooting nearly 58% from the field. But the regular season wasn't the story everyone remembers. The real question was, could Michael Jordan prove he could win big, like Magic, Bird, and Isaiah? Could he go back-to-back? In the first round of the playoffs, the Bulls made quick work of the Miami Heat, sweeping them in 3 games. The Heat, in just their 4th year of existence, were overmatched from the opening tip. Jordan was ruthless, as if the Smith book had given him extra motivation to destroy opponents. He dropped 56 points in the Game 3 clincher at Miami Arena and averaged 45 points per game for the series. The crowd in Miami could only watch in stunned silence as Jordan hit shot after shot, each bucket a statement. This is what greatness looks like. Then came a brutal 7-game war with the New York Knicks. Led by Patrick Ewing and coached by Pat Riley, the rivalry was personal. Jordan had grown up hating the Knicks, and Riley's physical style was a direct descendant of the Pistons team that tormented Chicago. Madison Square Garden was a madhouse for every game. Celebrities courtside, the noise deafening. The Bulls actually lost Game 1 at home, 94-89, with the Knicks defense swarming, Jordan enforcing him into 10 of 27 shooting. The New York media went wild. Jordan rules still work, screamed the back page of the New York Post. The doubters were back in full voice. But Jordan thrived on doubt like oxygen. The Bulls clawed their way back, winning 3 of the next 4 to take a series 3-2 lead. Game 6 should have been the closeout, but the Knicks refused to die, winning 100-86 to force a decisive Game 7. May 17, 1992, Game 7. This was the game that would define whether Jordan could handle the pressure of defending a title. In the 4th quarter, with the game tight, MJ took over. He scored 18 of his 42 points in the final period, each basket a dagger into New York's heart. The Bulls won 110-81, a stunning blowout. Jordan had averaged 35.6 points for the series. "That's what separates the great ones," Jordan said afterward, still dripping with sweat. "When everyone else is tired, you find another level." Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers, winners of 57 games and one of the most well-rounded teams in the league. Led by All-Stars Mark Price and Brad Daugherty, the Cavs had actually won the regular season series 4-1. But playoff Jordan was a different animal. He averaged 31.6 points as the Bulls won in 6 games, clinching their 2nd straight finals appearance with a 99-94 victory at Chicago Stadium. The path had been harder than 1991, each series a grind. The Bulls looked tired, Jordan looked tired, but waiting in the finals was a fresh challenge and fresh motivation. Clyde Drexler and the Portland Trail Blazers. All season long, the comparisons had been building. The media couldn't help themselves. They dubbed Clyde Drexler the other Michael Jordan. Both were shooting guards with incredible athleticism. Both could leap out of the gym. Both played defense. Both had that smooth, graceful style that made the game look easy. ESPN ran segments comparing their stats. Sports Illustrated did a cover story, mirror images with Jordan and Drexler facing each other. The narrative was irresistible. Jordan had Magic last year, now he had his doppelganger. Jordan heard every word, and he hated it. "I wanted the people to know the difference between me and Clyde," Michael later admitted. His competitive fire still burned at the memory. "It was always a comparison, and I didn't want it to be a comparison. I wanted to be totally different. I wanted people to see that on the highest stage." To be fair, Drexler and the Blazers weren't pushovers. Portland had lost in the 1990 finals to Detroit, then won a franchise record 63 games in 1991 before getting upset by the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. In 1992, they ran it back with the same core: Drexler, Terry Porter, Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth, Cliff Robinson, Danny Ainge, and went 57-25. They steamrolled through the playoffs, beating the Lakers in the first round, the Suns in 5, and then a tough Jazz team led by Stockton and Malone in 6 games. They were deep, experienced, and hungry. Clyde was a threat. "I'm not saying he wasn't a threat," Jordan would say years later, "but me being compared to him, I took offense to that. Jordan even offered his own scouting report to the media. Clyde is a mirror of me in a sense. He's so versatile. He plays defense. He's good with assists. He can score. So you got to respect him in all areas of basketball. I'm just going to try to contain him as much as possible. Try to force him to shoot the outside shot, as most people try to force me to shoot the outside shot. Force him to his weaker hand, which people do to me. But Jordan had an edge Drexler didn't. He'd already been here. He'd already felt the pressure of the finals, already hoisted the trophy. Drexler was still chasing his first. June 3, 1992, Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Chicago's stadium was electric, packed to the rafters with 18,000 screaming fans. The building itself seemed to vibrate with anticipation. The game started as expected. Two talented teams trading baskets. Portland was unconscious early, shooting 68% from the field, their offense flowing like water. With 6:34 left in the second quarter, they trailed by just one, 45-44. Drexler had 11 points. It looked like they were in for a classic. Then Michael Jordan decided to end the debate once and for all. What happened over the next 6 minutes and 34 seconds was one of the most dominant individual stretches in finals history. Jordan had already scored 18 points in the first quarter, attacking the basket with his usual ferocity, but Portland kept packing the paint, daring him to shoot from the outside. So he did. The first three came with 2:54 left in the quarter. Swish. The second came early in the second quarter. Jordan pulling up in transition. Swish. By the time he hit his third, the crowd was buzzing. This wasn't the Jordan they knew, the slasher, the mid-range assassin. This was something different. The 4 3-pointer brought Chicago Stadium to its feet. The noise was deafening, a wall of sound that seemed to lift Jordan higher. The fifth had fans looking at each other in disbelief. Is this really happening? Then came the sixth. Jordan caught the ball at top of the arc, guarded by Cliff Robertson. Without hesitation, he rose up and fired. The ball hadn't even reached the basket when Jordan turned to Robertson and started shaking his head. No, 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 almost mocking the futility of trying to guard him. Then came the moment that would live forever. Jordan turned to the broadcast table when Magic Johnson was calling the game for NBC. He raised his palms, shrugged his shoulders, and gave that iconic gesture. What can I even say? Even I don't know how I'm doing this. I was in a zone, Jordan explained after the game. The first one felt so good, I had to take more. I couldn't miss. The threes were like free throws. They just kept dropping. I didn't know what was happening. He finished the half with 35 points, a finals record. 6 3-pointers, another finals record. The Bulls led 66-51 at halftime and never looked back. The final score was 122-89, a complete demolition. Jordan finished with 39 points in just 34 minutes. They dared me early, Jordan said. Most teams will give me that. I wasn't looking for it, but when you feel the rhythm, you have to take it. Portland's Buck Williams was in awe. It's like looking down the barrel of a Magnum when he shoots the ball like that. It's kind of frightening. He's sensational at driving to the basket, so we have to take his driver's license away. But we have to be concerned about the three-pointer. We can't let him get looks at the basket like that, or we'll be in for a very long night. And yet, even after that performance, Jordan resisted the idea of becoming a three-point specialist. I don't want to live with this three image too long because it takes away from some parts of my game, he said. I like going to the hole, that creativity part of my game. I don't want to lose that. The shrug wasn't just a finals moment, it was Jordan telling the world, stop comparing me to anyone else. There's only one of me. But champions don't roll over after one punch, and Portland proved their mettle in Game 2. The Blazers came out aggressive, taking an early lead and maintaining it throughout. They were up 9 at halftime, and even after the Bulls stormed back behind 14 third-quarter points from MJ, Portland had one more run in them. The game turned bizarre in the final minutes, with the Bulls up 10 and Clyde Drexler fouled out. Jordan committed a foul and then, frustrated by non-call moments earlier, earned a technical foul. The momentum swung completely. Danny Ainge, the veteran guard acquired from Sacramento, scored 6 points in the final minute of overtime. The Blazers stunned Chicago, 115-104. The Bulls' worst home finals loss ever. We got careless, Jordan admitted. We thought we had them down and we relaxed. You can't do that in the finals. The series shifted to Portland's Memorial Coliseum, where the Blazers had been nearly unbeatable all season. But Game 3 was a defensive masterclass by Chicago. They held Portland to just 84 points, only 39 in the second half, and just 28 field goals total, all franchise playoff lows. The Blazers went scoreless for stretches of 3, 4, even 5 minutes at a time. Jordan scored 26, but it was the Bulls' defense that won that game. Game 4 started the same way. Chicago jumped out 10-2, and it looked like another blowout was coming. But Portland, playing with the desperation of a team facing a 3-1 deficit, clawed back. They cut it to 3 by halftime and exploded in the fourth quarter, going on a 15-6 run while Jordan went scoreless in the final 10 minutes and 26 seconds. The fatigue of 3 straight deep playoff runs was showing. The series was tied 2-2. I got a little winded, MJ admitted after the game. I had to play a lot of minutes when Scotty was in foul trouble. I really didn't have the legs to make the shots. They say when you're tired, your legs are the first to go. Phil Jackson later admitted that if Jordan had gotten more help in those crucial moments of games 2 and 4, the series might have been over already. But now they had to go back to Chicago for Game 5. Jordan responded like the champion he was. Despite briefly leaving the game with an ankle injury, he poured in 46 points on 14 of 23 shooting, including 16 of 19 from the free-throw line. It was vintage Jordan, attacking the basket relentlessly, drawing fouls, finishing through contact. Pippen added 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists, just missing a triple-double. The Bulls won 119-106. Game 6, June 14, 1992, Chicago Stadium. A chance to clinch back-to-back championships on their home floor. The crowd arrived early, the noise building throughout warm-ups. This was supposed to be a coronation. Portland had other ideas. The Blazers came out like a team possessed. They held Jordan scoreless for the first 11 minutes, an eternity for someone who averaged over 30 points a game. Portland's defense was swarming, physical, desperate. They built a 17-point lead in the second quarter and maintained control throughout the third. By the end of the period, it was 79-64. The Chicago crowd was nervous. Jordan was forcing shots, trying to will his team back single-handedly. Nothing was working. That's when Tex Winter, the architect of the triangle offense, made a suggestion that would become the stuff of Bulls legend. He turned to Phil Jackson during a timeout. "Sit Michael," Winter said. "Let the others play." It was basketball hearsay. Bench the greatest player in the world in the fourth quarter of a potential clinching game. But Jackson, the Zen master, who preached about letting go of outcomes, made the boldest decision of his coaching career. To start the final quarter, he rolled out a lineup that no one saw coming. Scottie Pippen, B.J. Armstrong, Stacey King, Bobby Hansen, and Scott Williams. 4 reserves and Pippen. No Jordan. What happened next changed the course of NBA history. That unlikely unit opened the fourth quarter with a stunning 14-2 run. Bobby Hansen, who'd played sparingly all playoffs, hit a 3. Stacey King, mocked by Jordan as Big Dripper, scored inside. B.J. Armstrong pushed the pace. Scott Williams grabbed offensive rebounds, and Pippen orchestrated it all. A maestro conducting a suddenly symphonic Bulls attack. The stadium exploded with each basket. Fans who'd been sitting on their hands moments earlier were on their feet, screaming themselves hoarse. Portland called timeout after timeout, but couldn't stop the avalanche. In less than 5 minutes, a 15-point deficit had shrunk to 3, 81-78. When Jordan checked back in, he was a different player. The rest had refreshed his legs, but more importantly, watching his teammates succeed had reminded him of a fundamental truth. He didn't have to do it alone. The triangle offense, the system he'd resisted, the teammates he'd berated, they were good enough. Jordan and Pippen took over from there, combining to score Chicago's final 19 points. MJ finished with 33 points, Pippen with 26 and 8 assists. The Bulls completed the comeback, winning 97-93. As the final buzzer sounded, Jordan found the ball and clutched it to his chest, just as he had the year before. Confetti fell from the rafters, the crowd's roar was deafening. Back-to-back championships. In the chaos of the celebration, Jordan found Drexler mid-court. "Much respect," he said, embracing his rival. But the message was clear. The comparisons were over. There was only one Michael Jordan. The 1992 championship meant more than just back-to-back titles. It proved that Jordan could evolve, could trust his teammates, could win without scoring 40 every night. The triangle offense worked. Phil Jackson's unconventional methods, meditation, Native American philosophy, benching superstars, worked. The supporting cast, once dismissed as Jordan's lackeys or the Jordanaires, had proven themselves when it mattered most. Sam Smith's book, which could have been a distraction, became fuel. Every story about Jordan's ruthlessness, his demanding nature, his refusal to accept anything but excellence, it all looked different now through the lens of back-to-back championships. These weren't character flaws, they were the ingredients of a champion. Will Perdue, the target of Jordan's punches, was still on the team, playing his role. The culture of accountability Jordan created, however harsh, had produced results. The doubters who wondered if 1991 was a fluke had their answer. Those who compared him to Clyde Drexler fell silent forever. The questions about whether Jordan could win multiple titles like Magic and Bird were settled. In fact, Jordan had done something neither Magic nor Bird had done at their peaks, win back-to-back titles as the undisputed best player on the planet. But perhaps Magic Johnson himself said it best during Game 1 broadcast, right after the shrug. "I played against Michael for 9 years, and I've never seen him hit threes like this. This is scary." Scary was right, because this wasn't the high-flying, reckless Jordan of the 1980s anymore. This was Jordan 2.0, a player who had learned to trust, learned to conserve energy, learned to destroy you in whatever way the game demanded. He could beat you with threes, like in Game 1. He could beat you with defense, like in Game 3. He could beat you by getting to the line, like in Game 5. And he could beat you by letting his teammates beat you, like in Game 6. The 1992 finals weren't just about silencing doubters, they were about transformation. From individual brilliance to team excellence, from one championship to a dynasty in the making. The shrug wasn't just a gesture, it was a coronation. The moment Michael Jordan stopped being compared to anyone. The moment he transcended the sport itself. Because after 1992, there was Jordan and there was everyone else. I think people saw the difference between me and Clyde, Jordan reflected years later, and they saw that I was going to be there for a while. He was right. 4 more championships would follow, but they all trace back to this moment, this series, this shrug. The doubters had been silenced, the dynasty had begun. But if you think that version of Jordan was scary, you haven't seen what came next. The 1993 Jordan didn't just want to beat you, he wanted to bury you. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe for more videos just like this one.